This month has been brutal when it comes to snow and cold temperatures. The shorter and darker days can lead to depression, but there are also some health risks when it comes to these cold temperatures. Let's bring in CTV's medical specialist, Dr. Marla Shapiro, now with more. Good morning to you, Dr. Marla. We've had some really bitterly cold temperatures. Tell us about some of the risks associated with just the cold.
Just the cold. And we start off, it's like a cascade of exposure and how things get worse over time. But you can have cold weather, not even freezing cold weather, combination of it being a little bit damp and wind, and we can see something quite commonly called chilblains. And what chilblains, C-H-I-L-L-B-L-A-I-N-S. So what that basically is that in the exposed area, you get painful inflammation, the skin is red, there's swelling, there's tingling, blisters, and pain. Sometimes people with low body mass index, people who have this type of exposure, pre-existing vascular issues, may be at more risk for this. Typically, it'll resolve on its own, but it doesn't require it to be like brutal cold the way we talk about frostbite. And then we go on from chilblains into the other types of things that we see. So from there, you can have the early things of cold weather if you combine cold plus being wet. So this is particularly important for your kids to make sure that their boots are waterproof, because if you have prolonged exposure to wet and cold condition, that can affect your extremities, particularly your feet, where you begin to get swelling, legs, feet, hands, if you've got wet mittens type of thing, and blisters. So that's something that you really want to prevent, but it's the combination of the cold and the wet. Windburn frost nip. So that's, now we're getting into colder weathers. It's the mildest form of freezing. And again, the typical exposure parts, ears, nose, cheeks, fingers, toes. Then from frost nip, we're going on to what you typically expect to see, frostbite. So that's prolonged exposure. And in this type of cold weather, anywhere from 10 to 30 minutes, the skin actually begins to look waxy. Ugh. It feels cold, but you're worried about permanent damage to the blood vessels. Yes, and if that is prolonged exposure, then you can actually begin to lose skin, and if it's limbs, lose limbs. And then the most extreme, of course, is hypothermia, and that's when your body temperature falls well below 35 degrees. That's prolonged exposure. Muscular weakness and drowsiness, that usually necessitates urgent care in an emergency room with rewarming. Snow blindness, so particularly for skiers, where you get light UV radiation off that snow that reflects into your eyes, that can affect the keratitis, which is called an inflammation of the eye, and that can even cause temporary vision loss, extreme discomfort. So you want to protect your eyes, particularly if you're a skier. You want to use the right type of UV goggles. It's quite amazing, all the things.
Yeah.
And then the typical things that you would expect if you have an underlying illness. For example, if you have respiratory issues like asthma, bronchitis, chronic obstructive lung disease, this weather for sure is going to be an aggravation.
So all of this is very real. Are there certain people who are more at risk than others? And you know what I'm thinking about? Are all the teenagers, now I sound like, you know what I sound like, preachy, in barely anything, out for lunch, and it's -10 with a wind chill.
Right. I've had some of, we were talking about this earlier, our guys who come in to, help us with our drivers who are in T-shirts, and you wonder, you're getting warm while you're
or the young gals at the mall.
Yeah, not a good idea. So there are that list of typical things that will take any of these and make you more at risk. So we look at age-related illnesses, or the very young, the very old. If you already have circulatory issues, you're going to be at risk. If you've had a previous injury where you've had altered blood flow, if you have a previous cold injury, that renders that area more at risk. If you have an untreated low thyroid where your metabolism is low, certain vascular issues, if people have Raynaud's disease, their fingers turn already white and blue in the cold weather, this is really bad weather for them. Being tired and making poor decisions. Obviously, alcohol is a no-no, and there are certain drugs or medications that can put you at risk. So you really have to look at yourself in terms of judging, what is my health risk? What can I do to mitigate against this? Do I really need to go out? Do I really need to be out for a long period of time? And am I putting myself in a dangerous situation if you're driving a vehicle or if you're walking in blinding cold and blinding snow? You really, obviously want to make good decisions before you go out.
All right. And there's still many more weeks to go.
And the cold weather there's no end in sight.
Setting in, yeah. All right. Dr. Marla, be safe. Thanks so much. We'll see you next week.
Stay warm.